Hey guys, welcome back to the next part of this series, or actually the first part of this series. Today we're going to start with a new project. Just had to rearrange the mic here, the mic. Today we're going to start with a new project, and we're going to be doing things a little bit different. So for this exercise, I'm actually going to go back to basics. I'm going to be doing something very, very simple. It's a very cool concept. It's a fan art. We're going to be doing a fan art. So it's a very cool concept. It's a character that I really like from my childhood, and we're gonna bring him back. We're gonna give him a little bit of this sort of revamp. Now I know that this character has been revamped recently, but we're gonna give it our own take. And the guy or the little fella that I'm talking about is Aku Aku from Crash Bandicoot. So most of you probably know about this guy. Crash Bandicoot is a very famous game. So we're going to be doing the mask, which is called Aku Aku. And the reason I want to do this is because I think it's a rather simple model that everyone can do. So if you're just starting with the 3D world, then this should be fairly manageable. And the other reason why I want to do this guy is because I think I can give it a little bit of a different feel, and we can texture it and maybe like do some interesting stuff. I'm gonna show you how to do feathers. Feathers is one of those things that people ask quite a bit about. We're gonna do a little bit of ZBrush as well. So we're gonna bring the object from Maya into ZBrush and then back into Maya. So it's gonna be like the full pipeline, but with a simple object like Aku Aku. So the first thing we need to do is we need to find a nice image plane that we can use. So this one right here, I really like. I do note, or it does seem like the eyelashes or the eyebrows are different. So as you can see here, they're not on the same pattern. But I really like this guy because as you can see, it has longer feathers, more like feathers rather than this like plastic looking things. And we can always change that thing later. So I'm just gonna save this image. Now, if we remember back in the beginning of the whole series that we started a little bit over a month ago, we created a what's the word? We created a project for the grenade. So we're just gonna use that one. I'm gonna go here next to live, and here inside source images, we're just gonna save this as Aku Aku. Now we're gonna start today in Maya, and we're gonna be doing the basic blocking of the object here. So I'm gonna go into the front view. I'm gonna press spacebar, Maya, front view, jump right here. I'm gonna go into view, image plane, and import image. And of course we need to set the project first. I forgot to set the project, so I'm just gonna set right here next to live. There we go. And now from source images, we should be able to select Aku Aku. I'm gonna make it bigger. I don't like working with small scale. Later on we'll do like real scale. And I'm gonna try to center this guy as close as possible to the main place right here. Now, as you can see, this guy is made out of several parts. Now, the only things that we're gonna be focusing on right now are the wooden parts back here or in here on the body. Like this leaves right here, we're gonna leave for later. We're also gonna leave the feathers for later, and we're gonna just focus on the whole wooden thing. Now, whenever I start a project, I always like to think and say, okay, should I do the easy parts first or the difficult parts first? Sometimes I just feel like doing the difficult parts first, and then everything else just becomes an easy ride. And other times I like to start with the simple stuff just to get my mood on, and then I'll jump onto the difficult things. In this case, I don't think there's a lot of difficult elements that we really need to worry about. So I'm gonna start with just like the basic shape. So as you can see, the basic shape is made out of, I would say, several planks. It looks like it's just one plank, but I can see the divisions here, and adding a little bit of extra, you know, like definition here and there will definitely make our project better. So I'm gonna start with a cube. I'm gonna scale this cube up, scale it like this, and I'm just gonna use my vertex mode to position the vertex on the corners. This is an asymmetrical character, that's important. Just keep that in mind. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna divide this guy into 4 pieces. I can see one line there, and one line there. So those are roughly the elements that we're going for. And you can see that he has a little bit of a curvature down here, right? Like a kind of like a chin. So let's just add that curvature. There's also a little bit of curvature here on the sides, but I'm not gonna add that just yet, and I'll show you why. Because now what I want to do, of course this is way too thick, so let's go to something a little bit more realistic. I'm gonna push the image back here, and I want to separate this guys into 4 individual planks. There's a lot of ways to do it. I'm just gonna select all of these edges right here, and I'm gonna say edit mesh, detach. What that will do, as the name implies, it will detach, as you can see, all of the different elements into like separate pieces. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna grab all of this, say mesh, separate, so each island of faces is now a separate object, and then I'm gonna grab all of them and I'm gonna say mesh, fill hole. And since I already know that all of these guys had just like a square line, that's why we didn't add more lines, all of them are now solid, which is what we're going for. I'm now gonna grab all of them. I am gonna delete history, freeze transformation, and bevel them all at the same time. So that way we get a nice division here. I'm gonna push the fraction up, which is gonna be probably like 0.15, I think. It's gonna be a small fraction. I'm gonna do the same thing here, 0.15. This does need to be done individually. And now we have this thing right here, which again is gonna help me get some very nice effects. I think 0.15 is even a little bit too much, so let's do 0.7. 0.07. It's gonna be really, really small. We're gonna be dynameshing this thing later on in ZBrush, so I'm not too worried about it, but I don't want the lines to be like super obvious. It's just a little bit of an indication there. Now we can go back to the front view, go into number 4, and now we can start like modifying a little bit of the silhouette. And we don't need to do this for all of them. For instance, this one right here, I'm gonna go with my cut tool. Let's add like 1, 2, and 3 lines here. And I'm just gonna push these vertices like closer to the center. That's gonna give me a nicer silhouette, a little bit more interesting. Same thing for this guy. So let's do 1, 2, 3, and then just select the vertices here and push them slightly to generate a little bit of a border. Now up here, as you can see, there's a little bit of a discrepancy on height. So I'm gonna push this guy down a little bit so we get like that little shelf. Here, I can see this guy goes up. I'm gonna add 1 line here. Let's do 2 lines so that we can push this guy up a little bit like this. And again, what that's going to do, as you can see, it's going to give me a more interesting silhouette because now not all of the elements are exactly the same. They're slightly different. And remember, one of the main things about 3D is that 3D tends to be really perfect. I know there's a very famous Blender tutorial where they do a donut. I'm thinking about doing that in Maya and giving it like a realistic touch because one of the things I don't like about that tutorial, and of course I understand it's a simple or a beginner level tutorial. No, I'm not trying to be or bad-mouthing Blender or anything. But I know that we can make it a little bit better. And again, the main thing about 3D is that it tends to make things way too perfect. So by adding this sort of like details here and there, it's going to really change how we perceive the general thing. Now, I can see that down here, it seems like all of the planks are really close together. But up here, you can see that they do have a little bit of separation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab all of them again. And then I'm going to combine them again. Mesh, combine, delete history. And I'm going to add 1 line like right about here that goes across all of them. So that I can grab like the upper vertices here. Careful not to select ones that we don't need. So just this guy's right here. And for instance, this guy's, let's just like push them back a little bit. And then let's shift select to invert the selection. And like this guy's right here, I'm gonna push them forward. And again, what this is gonna do, as you can see, it's gonna create a little bit of a visual interest. It's gonna make it more interesting to see, right? Because we don't have only like a very flat piece of wood. It's a more interesting change of form here and there. So as you can see, very simple. These are just cubes, nothing out of the ordinary, just simple cubes. But as you can see, we're getting this very cool detail where we get this. Now, I'm not worried about topology right now because, again, as I've mentioned, this will be dynameshed individually, of course, and we will be doing like some like wood sculpting and stuff. So we really don't need to worry about anything there. So there we go. The main shape of the body is ready. I'm gonna save this real quick. So let's save this as Aku. There we go. Front view. And now let me show you how I would do the lips, because I think the lips are one of those things that could be relatively complicated for someone that's just starting. Like you might not really know how to do them, but I'm going to show you why topology is really important here. It's actually very simple. So I'm gonna go in, select the plane. I'm gonna bring the plane up here. Now I don't want to be distracted by the main body of the mask right now. So I'm just gonna create this little thing right here, a layer. I'm gonna select the object and create a display layer. Now I can turn off the layer, and anything that's inside of that layer will be hidden as long as this thing is not visible. Very similar to how it works in Photoshop. So for the plane here, I'm just gonna bring this back to like one single like polygon. I'm gonna position it anywhere I want is fine. There, I think it's good. And now I'm gonna go into quad draw. And quad draw will allow me to draw, as the name implies, quads. I'm just gonna click, and then shift and click in between the options. This is the quad draw tool right here. Remember, you can always use Control F to look for tools if you miss them. So this one, sorry, this one right here. And I'm just gonna start drawing like this loop around the lips, like this. So loop, loop, loop. A lot of people might think, well, why are we not doing this in a single geometry? Like, why are we not like extruding the lips from the main body of the mask? And whenever you're modeling anything, you need to ask yourself a question, and that question is, how would they do it in the real world? Like, would they carve the whole mask out of a single like lump of wood? And the answer is no. They're probably gonna have like several parts of wood, and then they'll like nail them together or paste them together or something. So that's the way we will do it in 3D. 3D at the end of the day, we're trying to replicate the real world in a digital world. So if we follow the way people do it in the real world, it's gonna make it a little bit easier for us. So that's why I'm not extruding this mouth from the from like the base shape of or from the planks, right? And I'm rather than that, I'm just creating or drawing this new element right here. So as you can see, I'm drawing two connected edge loops here. You can see how we have this full edge loop, and I'm trying to make sure that the main line here remains exactly where the bevel is looking on the face. Because now here's where the fun begins. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab this edge right here, and with W, which is movement, I'm just gonna move it forward. And there we go. We got the volume that we're looking for. Now you can of course exaggerate how much volume you want. I think this is more than enough. And the cool thing is, since these guys are symmetrical in the amount of number of faces they have, they're the same number, I can just grab one and the other, and then just bridge. Don't worry, this is completely normal. I'm just gonna start moving the twist on the bridge until we hit the proper, where is it? Bridge offset here, until we hit the proper number. And there we go. So now, as you can see, we have a complete shape that's looking very, very nice. And I just need to add a couple of support edges, because if I press number 3, of course, you can see that this thing becomes like super, super weird. So I'm gonna go to the areas where I know we need some edges. So it's gonna be one right here, one right here, one down here, one down here, one right there, and one right there. So by doing that, as you can see, the shape of the mouth is gonna remain a lot nicer. However, there are some areas like this, and this where things are a little bit sharper. So let's add one here and one here, one here and one here, one here and one here. So you can see that's gonna keep those sharp. And then only one here and only one here, because if I add two of them, it's gonna be really sharp. And by adding only two, we're gonna get a softer effect there. So we get this very nice soft curve here, and this very like hard surfacey effect up here. Now we can turn on the mask, and it's just a matter of selecting the geometry and placing it where it's supposed to be, which is right about there. Now we can make it a little bit deeper if we need to, and we're just gonna position the mouth right there. Pretty cool, right? Pretty simple. Now you can even go a little bit further. Like, let's right click, assign a new material. Let's do a Lambert. Let's do the history, and then this Lambert, I'm just gonna color it like there. Same for this guy. Let's new material, Lambert. Not necessary. It's just for visuals. So now that you're seeing this, it's gonna look a little bit nicer. Let's desaturate this. There we go. So we're starting to get the main effect. Now teeth, super easy. Teeth are super easy. I'm just gonna grab a cube. I'm gonna move them up here to where the main like tooth is. And now I'm just gonna bevel it. Simple as that. And I'm just gonna bevel the whole thing. So I'm just gonna bevel. I'm gonna do a small fraction and 2 segments. So that's relatively round. And of course, I'm just gonna scale it down so that it's closer to what we're going for. And now it's just a matter of like duplicating, making this one a little bit bigger, maybe like turning it a little bit here. We don't want a lot of space in between the teeth, so we're gonna try to keep it like that. It's gonna be like very nicely hidden there. Grab this guy. How many are there? There seems to be like 3 or something. This one's a little bit bigger though. Duplicate again. Let's make it bigger. Make sure that like the borders of the teeth are close together. We're also gonna be like dynameshing these things to get more detail and more resolution. This is just the base mesh. It doesn't really matter that this is right there. It's gonna be hidden, so that's fine. And then we got like this big one here. You can see there's a little bit of a curvature. Very important to respect that sort of thing. That's the kind of thing that designers put a lot of thought into. So we need to make sure that we are following their ideas. Because usually when a designer does something, like if you're working on a studio environment, a designer will design something, it will draw it, or it will create some sort of like concept piece. The art lead will approve that concept piece, and then if you as a modeler try to change that piece, they're going to be like, what are you doing? We have already approved the original design. There's no need to be reinventing the wheel. Sometimes you will find certain things that just don't translate properly into 3D, and that's when, of course, you're going to go into a discussion, friendly discussion, always, where you're going to be like, hey, you know what, maybe if we change like this gun or like this attachment here, it will be a little bit better. And yeah, people usually are, as long as you give them like solid arguments, they're pretty good about accepting those sort of changes. So yeah, there we go. Pretty cool, right? Now they do seem to be rotated slightly to like the outer part. So I'm just gonna very slightly rotate them out. Again, it's just so that not all of them are sharing the same position and we get a little bit of like variance in shadows and in depth. That's going to be really, really important. So let's go now with the next part. Let's save this real quick. And now we have the eyes. Now, I was doing some research on this guy, and old school, it had this weird thing, and then it has like this like moon shapes, and now it's back onto this sort of like just like a circular thing. So I'm not really sure. Like this Funko version has like a border and then like the glow. It's a little bit difficult, but since the material is going to be different, I do think we would benefit from having like a separate piece. So I'm going to have like the green thing be like just a ring around the eyes. As you can see, it's slightly lower than the main like eye bulb, like the yellow eye bulb. So I'm just going to create a sphere here. I'm going to rotate this again at 90 degrees. This is why I said at the beginning that this is a perfect exercise for someone that's just starting. Like if you feel like you really want to master the tools here inside of Maya, ZBrush, and the whole pipeline, this is a great exercise for you guys. Because it's not difficult, should be easy to follow, and you're going to get a very nice result at the end. So there we go. So those are the eyes, which again, let's add a new material to the eyes. I'm going to do a blend so that they shine a little bit. There we go. And now we're going to go for like the green thing. So the green thing is pretty much just a cylinder. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees. Snap them right here. Make sure it's as big as it's supposed to be. As you can see, it goes a little bit lower. That's fine. I'm just going to keep it like that for now. I'm going to make it smaller because this is going to be sitting right on top of the eye. So they do seem to be a little bit thick. Now this line right here, I'm going to scale it in to create this sort of like ramp that we're seeing. And then you can see the ramp goes in. So I'm going to grab this vertex. I'm going to press Ctrl F11 to change that selection from that vertex into faces. I'm going to extrude, offset to create a second like set here and just push this face in. See that? So now we create this sort of like concave shape that's looking very nice. This guys definitely need to go out a little bit more. And now when I press number 3, of course, this becomes like super, super ugly. So I'm just going to double click here, here, and here, bevel, 2 segments, and a small fraction. So when we press number 3, we get this very nice solid effect. We're gonna make this a lot dirtier inside of ZBrush. Don't worry, it's just the base shape. So let's add a new material here. Let's delete history, and we're just gonna select like that green hue that it has there. There we go. It's just a matter of duplicating this guy. This one's a little bit like lower, and we get that. Looking very cool, right? It's a fun project. I hope you guys are enjoying it, because I'm really enjoying it. I find it a very relaxing project, because I'm used to doing some a little bit crazier stuff. So going back to basics and just doing some fun stuff is always nice. So I'm just gonna create a cube here, and I'm gonna do the exact same thing I did with the teeth. I'm just gonna create the cube, and I'm just gonna give it like a proper thickness. I'm gonna bevel first. Again, small fraction, 2 segments. And now that I've beveled, I can add like a couple of cuts here to change the silhouette a little bit. It's a little bit easier to do it that way, because otherwise the bevel could behave a little bit weirdly. Now we check again here. Yeah, I remember in the game, the left one, like eyebrow, it's kind of like lower. I'm just gonna like flip it. Let's match these things here. And let's just bring it slightly lower. Oh, what happened? There we go. Just a slightly lower. I know that the concept's not like that, but I think it's gonna look cooler. And he's like with this sort of inquisitive look. Grab both of them, bring them closer. Of course, on top of the eyes, but not like they're kind of like floating. I mean, it's supposed to be like a magic mask or something. Here, what we can do is we can add a little bit of rotation as well. Again, just to break the symmetry a little bit and make sure that things are not all in the same depth. Grab both elements, right click, assign new material, Lambert, and let's do like this orangey color. There we go. So now, the final part of this first video, which is again just the blocking of the element. The nose. The nose might seem a little bit trickier. Like, if you see it at first, you might be like, okay, that's going to be a little bit more complicated, but believe me, it's really not that bad. I'm going to add selected object here so that I can turn them off and just work on the nose. And we're going to use a very similar process to what we did on the lips. So we're going to draw good topology that we're gonna be able to just like extrude out and kind of like poly model into form. So if I'm actually gonna, let's print screen here. Let me, oh, it's not the one. There we go. No thanks. Let's open Photoshop real quick. So what I'm gonna do is an exercise that I like to do. I think we did it before with the grenade. I think we did it with the grenade like a couple weeks ago. Where I'm gonna draw on top of the element of my character, and once we draw on top of it, it's gonna be a little bit easier to understand how we're gonna be doing the topology. So I know that we need to have a middle line. That's obvious, and from here I can see that this crosses, or this creates like this very like flat surface going here. Then we're gonna have like another edge loop here. And another one here. See that? It's like a little bit of a bridge. If you see it from the top, it's going to be like really sharp, and then like this, and then like this. Got it? And then from here to here, we're also going to have a little bit of a face, right? So this is going to go back into perspective. Now from here, I'm just going to create 2 main lines. It's going to be 1, and then here, it's going to be the second one. This is going to be like a very stretched out square right here. But if we cross it properly, as you can see, we're going to create a nice topology that we're going to be able to form into the shape of the nose. So let's go into Maya. And the same thing we just draw here. Now it's just a matter of drawing it here, but with polygons. So I'm going to start with a plane. Move this forward. Let's let's say 90 degrees of rotation. It's going to do one face, and we already know that this face starts right here. Go into object mode, quad draw, and it's just a matter of drawing the polygons that we just discussed. So we know we go there, 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 1 and 3. We're gonna move them, this guy, so that they look like it's gonna look like a triangle, but it's not a triangle. And there we go. So we have this shape. So we know that from this shape, we should be able to get that as long as we understand how perspective is working on these different planes. So what I'm gonna do is, I know that this vertex right here is gonna be the vertex that's gonna be the farthest out, right? Because that's the tip of the nose. So I'm just gonna move it forward like this. Then this one's gonna be further out, but not as far out. And then this one like this, and then this one like this. Okay, so we just created the profile of the nose going towards the front. Then I know that this guy is gonna be going forward, but again, not as much. So probably something like that. And this guy is gonna be right about here. So see how we're creating the little like surface there? Now it's just a matter of finding where each of these vertices is gonna be, or is gonna land, which is gonna be right about there and right about there. And as you can see, we've just created a three-dimensional like representation of the nose. Now we need to complete this. Like we need to form like the complete volume, which is gonna be a little bit trickier, but it's not difficult. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm actually gonna push this guy slightly forward, like this whole face. There we go. So what I'm gonna do is I am gonna first of all go into front view, grab all of the middle vertices and just snap them together with scale. I'm just gonna scale them so they share the same line right here. With W and pressing X, I'm gonna snap them to the center line so that I know that they're right there on the center of the screen. Now from this line, this guy right here, I'm gonna extrude, Control E, and with W I'm gonna push it back because it's gonna be the bottom part of the nose. I'm gonna do the same thing here, Control E, W, and push it back. Now this vertex, of course, needs to go further back, like this. These two vertices right here, I want to combine them. So I'm just going to hit this option right here, which is called Merge to Center. And they're now going to be on the same side. Now, to keep things simple, I am just going to grab this guy right here. And with W, I'm going to press a V on my keyboard. I'm going to snap it right there to the corner of the nose. I'm going to grab those guys and Merge to Center. So now both of them are just like completely shut down. Now I'm going to go from this edge to this edge, and I'm going to press this tool, which is called Bridge, and we're going to bridge towards the bottom side. We're closing the nose, as you can see here. Now from this line, this line, this line, and this line right here, I'm going to press Control E, and with W again, I'm just going to move to the center, and with R, I'm going to scale so that they match the exact same like middle line that we had before. Finally, I'm going to grab this guy, bridge, and I'm going to grab this little point right here, and with the V key, I'm going to snap it there, grab both of them, and merge to center. So now we have a complete half of the nose with like a back face, bottom face, everything's working nice. What's next? We of course need to mirror, but we can't mirror just like this. I'm going to grab all of the vertices first, go to my R key again, scale them. Oh, careful, not that one. Scale these guys, and with my X, I'm gonna snap them to the center. Grab the whole object, shift, right click, mirror, option box, and we're gonna say world X negative. Merge borders, custom 0.001, apply. And we're gonna get this. Look at this. Beautiful nose. Very, very cool looking nose. Now, I think we definitely need to grab these two guys, just bring them lower, so that the nose is a little bit flatter on the bottom side. We're going to be sculpting this thing as well, so don't worry about that. But as you can see, we get this very, very nice, like, basic shape. If we press number 3, of course, it's going to look very ugly, so we need to add a couple of support edges. So I'm going to add one support edge right here, one support edge right here, probably like one right here and one right here. So we get this very nice sharp line there. one right here. I don't care if they're not symmetrical or perfectly symmetrical, that's fine. And definitely one right here. And look at that. Very nice, sharp looking nose. Again, we're going to be doing a little bit of sculpting inside of ZBrush to make sure that this looks the best possible way. But this is a very, very good base mesh. Assign new material, Lambert. We're going to select this guy right here. And now let's see how it looks. Let's move forward. Now the cool thing is we can make it bigger or smaller depending on how intense we want it to be. I don't think it's as intense, so probably a little bit smaller. And there we go. Pretty cool looking start, right, to our little image right here. So yeah, as you can see, that's it. That's all we really need to do to create a base mesh. Now, on the next part of the series, we're gonna take all of these elements into ZBrush, and we're gonna give them all of these like damage structures, all of that, like the wood grain and everything. We're gonna be sculpting this into like a very, very high degree. I know I always do. Now let's keep it toon. I'm gonna keep it toon because we always do like realistic stuff. I want to show you how to do toon stuff now. So I'm gonna keep it real toon on the sculpting side of things, but I am gonna be adding some very cool details next time we see each other. Okay, so that's it for this video, guys. Make sure if you are following along, just get this same image as you saw. I just got it from the internet. I think it's like the second or third one or something. Just grab whichever one you feel like. I think it's this one, right? Yeah, that's the one. It's the second one. So just grab this one, get it into your image plane, and model this so that you can follow along on the next video when we're going to be jumping into ZBrush. So that's it, guys. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, comment, let us know what you think, and I'll see you back on the next one. Bye-bye.